Welcome to Bold Women Lawyers Spotlight. I'm glad to have you here today. I'm Sharon Christie, founder and CEO of Bold Women Lawyers. I am a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for a long time. I was a partner in a med mal and PI firm for about 15 years, and then I had a solo practice doing nothing but disability law for the last 16 years. I was in active practice. Then I was able to merge my law firm with another firm. I became of counsel so that I had the ability to launch my new business, Bold Women Lawyers, where I'm a business strategist and business coach for lawyers in solo and small firm practices. I'm really glad you've joined me today. We're here once or twice a week talking about all things solo and small firm. And today's topic is technology. Technology is exciting and it's terrifying all at the same time. Whether you are just starting out in your law business or you've been in practice in your own firm for a number of years, you have to make lots of decisions about technology. It's never just a one and done, as we all know. It's something that you have to constantly evaluate, and you have to make a lot of decisions about what technology you need, what you're going to use, what company to use, etc. It can really, really feel overwhelming. But honestly, it doesn't have to be that way. You need to follow some simple rules. So we'll talk about that. And we're going to talk about just some of the basics that, every small or solo law firm needs. Now, it won't be an exhaustive list, but we will cover the basics because it's easy to get so caught up in I need everything. And I know I felt that way at times, and I'm sure you do too. But you don't need everything. That's the good news. The good news is you don't, and the good news is you can keep it very simple and still be able to run a great law firm, an efficient law firm, to meet your client's needs. So let's get started. What's the first thing you need to know? The very first rule is keep it simple. Keep it simple. It is really easy to get so excited about new technology that comes out with lots of new bells and whistles. But of course, those bells and whistles come with a price. And most of the time, if you really look at it, you don't need all those bells and whistles. I think probably the iPhone is the clearest example. If it seems like a new version of iPhone is coming out at least yearly, if not more often. And each one has an upgrade. There's a better camera, there's a better this, there's a better that. And all of those improvements are great. But before you rush out and buy the next version of the iPhone, you have to ask yourself, well, do I really need it? Am I having problems with what I'm using now? Will this, make my life that much better? It's the same process that you want to go through in looking at technology for your law firm. There are lots of new bells and whistles on all kinds of technology coming out all the time. But just because it's new and exciting, that doesn't mean it's right for your law firm. So what I would do is the first question I learned, and I learned this the hard way, and I'll tell you some mistakes that I made. But the first question I learned to ask myself was, do I need this technology? What will it do for my law firm? Now, in the beginning, when I first set up my solo practice, I was very caught up in all the latest and greatest technology. I would talk to other lawyers and they would be raving about this gadget or that gadget. And I thought, wow, they're successful. If they have that gadget, I better go get it too, because that's what I'm going to need to be successful. So what happened? Well, I learned that these gadgets and the technology they were talking about may have been great for their practice and their specialty area. But much of the time, It was not great for what I was doing. What I already had was perfectly fine for what I was doing. And I also realized that I was looking at the technology to try to solve all my business problems. And the technology is not going to do that. The technology is going to make your business run more efficiently. It's going to make certain processes easier for sure, but it won't solve all of your business issues. And so you need to be sure that your expectations of what the technology is going to do for you are reasonable. All right, so let's look at some of the basics. Some of the basic technology that everybody needs, every lawyer needs, regardless of what your practice area is. The first is some kind of practice management software. And this, of course, will vary from firm to firm and from practice area to practice area. There are many, many, many choices out there, as we all know. What you really need is a software that's customizable for your area of practice, that's easy to use for you and your team, that includes time and expense tracking, or that it integrates with your billing software so that that's not going to become an issue for you, and that fits into your budget. If you don't already have software that you're using, talk to colleagues in your same area of practice. Find out, what do they use? What do they like about it? What do they not like about it? Now, one thing I will caution you about is this. Let me finish this thought first, and then I'm going to give you a lesson from my experience. So I hope you can benefit from my mistakes or almost mistakes. So you want to talk to colleagues, or maybe you have some software that you're using that you are really having problems with. It's just not meeting your needs. Talk to your colleagues. Start there. Find out what they're using. Ask them, what do they think are the pros and cons? Then you want to make a list of the top 5 to 10 things that you need the software to do for you in your business. Now, when you make this list, you do want to make sure that you talk to your team about it, because they may well have needs and things that they find they would want in the software that you'd never think about, only because you don't do what they're doing, right? You're not, you're not your paralegal, say. You're not your legal assistant. You don't have the same duties and tasks that they do. And so you're not thinking in terms of things that might make, say, the process of ordering medical records easier. Whereas for them, that might be a number 1 priority. So make sure you involve your team, consult them, find out, if we were going to get new practice management software, what would you want to see in it that we don't already have? So once you make that list, narrow down then the choices to just a couple, maybe 2, no more than 3, certainly. And then you can either schedule a live demo, so you get your whole team involved in that, or you do a free trial and practice with it and let your team practice with it. What do you think? And schedule some time then with your team to go over the results. Like, what did you like about this? What did you not like about it? Are there things that you found really difficult? Are there other things you would like in the software? And then you can talk to the vendor to say, listen, is this customizable? We need to be able to track X, Y, and Z. I don't see a way to do it in your software, but can we customize it for our needs? So get all those questions answered, get all the pros and cons down, so you can make an informed choice. Now, let me tell you about an experience that I had with practice management software. I used the same software through 3 different law firms over more than 20 some years. Okay. So I learned it early on. I stayed with it. Why? Because it was customizable. Okay. So that even as my practice area changed and I went from med mal and PI to disability, I could still customize it in the way that I wanted to work for my new area of practice. It really was intuitive and easy to use. So despite the fact that there were lots of new types of software for disability law, for example, that's what I was doing, that were narrowed down just to that. And they had lots of bells and whistles, etc. I found that I could do almost the same stuff with what I already had, and we wouldn't have to go up a new learning curve, which was great because it was serving our needs. I didn't need to change. Now, here's what happened. Over time, it was stored on the server at my office, this program. And of course, over time, they went into the cloud. And so I had lots of solicitations to switch to the cloud-based version. I never did that. And there was a lot of sort of, not pressure from the vendor, don't get me wrong, but it was just sort of that external pressure. Everybody's in the cloud. Everybody's in the cloud. Should I go into the cloud? Well, it was an easy decision for me, and here's why. I looked at the numbers. I looked at the dollars and cents. What it was going to cost me to go to the cloud version over the course of a year was going to be 5 times more than what I was paying for the server-based version. That was an easy decision. Yeah, and people would say, yeah, but when you're not at the office, the cloud version is how you can, get into the software, and that's fine. But there was an alternative to that. I used Go to My PC. I installed it on everybody's computers at the office so that if they were not at the office, they needed to hook in, they could. And even with the cost, the added cost of, in my case, Go to My PC, the cost of going to the cloud was still 5 times higher. So I never did it, and I never regretted not doing it. So when you see these new developments, they're great. The cloud's great, but make sure that the dollars and cents make sense for you and your firm. So practice management software, that's number one. Scheduling apps. Now, I've talked to a lot of lawyers and lawyers that I've worked with that were very resistant, at least initially, to the idea of using a scheduling app. What do you mean my clients are going to schedule time themselves? But once you think about it, you realize it makes a lot more sense because you have now eliminated the need for all of those back and forth phone calls to schedule a meeting, to schedule a deposition prep, to schedule the time to come in and sign documents. And you know what I'm talking about. It hopefully is not you making those calls, but somebody on your staff is having to call and schedule the appointment, and then the client calls back, oh, I can't really make it. We need to schedule another appointment. And then you have a hearing that gets scheduled, and so you have to reschedule it again. That in and of itself can drive people just completely crazy. And it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. So the scheduling apps, as the saying goes, I think they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And that's a very old saying, but honestly, I love scheduling apps because of the way they free up your time and your team's time. They're easy to use and they're inexpensive. Now, there's a whole variety to choose from, and you want to check them out and test them out to see the ones that you like the best. But remember, they're not just limited to scheduling an appointment. So you can add forms that will have to be filled out when the appointment is scheduled. If you need information from your client, before they come in for the appointment, you can add that form on there. If, let's say, you need your client to schedule a deposition prep meeting, okay? And there are going to be basic questions in cases that your clients need to answer, and you want them to start thinking about it ahead of time, attach that. That can be attached as a document. Here are the 5 things that you need to think about and be prepared to answer when we get together. There will be much more that we go over, but I really want you to spend some time thinking about this and let them start working ahead of time. It will save you a lot of time once they get there, and now your client's even more invested in the process. So just remember, these apps are not just limited to the schedule aspect. You can also use them with forms and to get more information that can be extremely helpful. Legal research tools. I mean, you know what they are: Westlaw, Lexis, Fastcase, Case Text, and on and on and on. So if you don't have any now that you're using, perhaps what did you use in law school? What did you like? What did you not like? Talk to colleagues. What do they think are the best? What do they use? Ask for pros and cons. If you are using a research tool now, are you happy with it? If you're happy with it and it fits within your budget, the decision's easy. Just stay with it. There's no reason to change, right? No reason to change. But if you're not happy with it, again, do the research, especially talking to colleagues to get good and bad, and then ask for demos. Ask for free trials so you can check it out yourself and see what you find is easiest to work with and that fits within your budget. Because there's always another alternative in terms of price. So take your time, but make sure you have made a choice that is good for you and for your budget. Video conferencing. Now, I know everybody has Zoom fatigue. They're tired of it. But honestly, as you know now, these are great tools for video calls and video conferences. So there's Zoom, there's GoToMeeting, there's Microsoft Teams, there's WebEx, and on and on and on. There's lots and lots and lots to choose from. The first thing I think you want to think about is your client. How sophisticated are they in using video conferencing? How easy is the platform that you are choosing? Is it going to be easy for them to use? My clients were consumers. As time went on, they became much more tech savvy. But there was a point at which they were not terribly tech savvy, and I needed to make sure I was sending them or using what was going to be easiest for them. What's easy to download to your phone? What's easy to click on? I think most of them are easy now, but I really had to think about that. And then I asked clients, like, did you find it easy to get on this call? Did you have any trouble? Because I wanted to make sure that they were going to be able to do it. Video conferencing was a real boom for me. I had done most of the work with my disability clients over the phone because, frankly, most of them, because they're disabled, didn't want to come into the office. But the ability to actually see somebody and talk face to face was a huge improvement. But I wanted to make sure that they were able to do it easily. I didn't want this to be an extra burden for them. Whatever platform you use, whatever software you use for your video calls and your video conferencing, two things you want to make sure you have that are good: a camera and a microphone. Now, right now, I'm using a Logitech Brio camera. It's great. It's easy to use. It plugs right in. And believe me, I am not tech savvy at all. I need to be able to plug it in and turn it on, plug and play. And I'm fine with that. But if it's more complicated than that, I'm probably going to have a problem. Same thing with the microphone. I'm using an AT2500 USB microphone. Here's a word of caution, and I'm sorry if you hear the buzzing in the background, but they're actually cutting the grass right outside my window right now. But here's a tip in buying a microphone. Make sure it's a USB, okay? I made that mistake. I was so excited about, I should get a microphone. I need a microphone to do my video calls and to shoot my videos and to do LinkedIn Lives. And oh, yeah, this is great. I'm going to get a great microphone, except it wasn't a USB. And it came, and I had no idea where I was supposed to plug it in, how I was supposed to plug it in, and it sure didn't work with my laptop. So make sure that whatever you use is compatible with the equipment that you already have. And I will tell you, I made that mistake more than once. And I made it because I was too excited by what other people were telling me about how great different gadgets were. I will tell you flat out, I bought a lot of stuff I didn't use. You know, I had way back when different tripods for my phone, and I had tripods for cameras, and I mean, just all kinds of stuff. I'm embarrassed to even think about it now. That I was told by someone I respected and who was successful, this is so great, you have to get this. But I didn't research it, and I went and got it, and it just sat in a drawer for a long, long, long time and never got used. So don't do that. Okay, let's talk about answering services. Now, I know this isn't 100% technology, okay? But it is important, and I sort of consider it technology. It's not really, but I'm going to throw it in anyhow because I think it's that important. You know, think about what it feels like when you call a company and you end up in voice bot hell or voicemail hell. That's the technology part, right? You got the voice bot, how can I help you, and tell me what you're calling about, and then they don't understand what you're saying, and you know that we've all had it, and we're screaming representative into the phone. Okay, it's bad. That is bad technology. You know, when people call a lawyer, an accountant, a professional, they're calling because they have a problem. And they really just want to speak to a real person, but all they get is that computer voice. It's not great. So how do you solve that problem? You know, either you have staff who are going to answer the phone, you have, hire a receptionist or whatever you want to call him or her, or you have live answering services. There's tons of them out there. I will caution you though, look carefully at the cost. How do they charge? Do they charge by the call or by the minute? What happens if it's a robocall? Did you still get charged for that? Some companies will charge you by the number of calls, others by the length of the calls. Definitely talk to colleagues and find out what their experience is like and get recommendations. You also want to make sure you're using a service that will allow you to customize your greeting, right? Because you want people to know when they call you who they're calling. You want it to be friendly. You want them to, the potential client to say, oh, wow, I like the way I'm being treated already. So make sure that you have that ability. Okay. Some other technology, scanners. All right. Desktop scanners are very affordable now and easy to use. There was a time when they weren't, and they were bulky, and they were, okay. That's not the case anymore. If you need them, e-fax, that's taken away the need for these crazy fax machines, right? You can get e-fax. It's simple. It's inexpensive. With the scanners, if you do need a scanner, make sure you have a good feel for the volume that you need before you invest, because you want to make sure that whatever you are purchasing can handle the volume that you need for your practice. So that's probably the best way to make the choice. Can it handle your volume? And then of course look at the price. But the volume is, if you're in doubt, choose the higher volume, because there's nothing more frustrating than just waiting forever for things to scan. Okay. And I sort of chuckled to myself about the scanners because it's really great, what the abilities are now, as opposed to those monstrous machines that you used to have wheeled into an office. And they were filled with bells and whistles, again, most of which you wouldn't need, but you had to pay a whole lot of money to either buy it outright or rent it every month. Desktops are a great solution to that. Online file storage. This becomes an issue. Like, are you paperless? Can you convert to paperless? Even if you're not paperless, what is going to be stored online, and where are you going to put it? What do you need? How many people will use it? Is it secure? That's probably the biggest question out there. We all know that nothing is 100% secure anymore. I mean, it's just not. And another topic for another day is, cyber insurance, and is it worth the cost? But you want to look at the security of the system. How is it secure? Do you feel comfortable with that? Talk to colleagues. What are they using? Are they comfortable? Have they even asked these questions? Of course, you're going to have to look at the costs. What is this going to cost me? Is it monthly? Is it yearly? How big is the storage? And is that going to be enough for me? You may not know. I mean, you may start at a low number and see where it ends over time. And you may have to, increase your storage amount, and that's okay. So if you're not sure, I would start at the lower number and then see what you need over time, as opposed to just taking the largest amount of storage that's there and you may never use it. But some of the basic services now, Microsoft OneDrive, Google Drive, Dropbox, Box.com. There's more than that. That's just a few examples. Again, talk to your friends and colleagues and find out if you're not sure, if you're confused, or if you don't know where to start. Find out where they start. What are they using, and how do they like it? So there's some basics of technology and a little bit of non-technology. I know, I admit that. A little bit of non-technology that I wanted to talk to you about today. But just remember, again, basic rule: take it slowly. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. The more bells and whistles you add, the more you drive your costs up. And of course, as a solo or small firm practitioner, one of your keys to success is controlling those costs, keeping it lean. And you want to make sure you don't make those mistakes of buying technology that you don't really need. Make sure it's customizable to what you need, that it fits within your budget. And if you're not sure what the budget is, that the cost is low, that you can afford it. You're going to look and say, oh, okay, this is going to cost me $2,500 a month. Maybe there's a better choice for me, because that seems to be awfully high for, practice management software, say, if that's where you are. So look at it. Don't be afraid to say no. And don't be afraid to say no, even if everybody else is using it. All right. Don't be afraid to say no, because it may not be the best choice for you. And you always want to be making the best choice for you and for your practice. So I hope you found this helpful. If you, I've put up my website. If you're listening and thinking, wow, there's things that I know I need some help with. I've got some challenges with my business, and I really need to get some things straightened out. Go to my website at boldwomenlawyers.com. There's two things you can do. First, you can download my free solo success guide, and there's lots of marketing and management and mindset tips in there. But the other thing you can do is schedule a clarity call with me. Let's take some time. It's a 45-minute call. Let's talk about what's your biggest issue that you feel is your biggest challenge now, that may be holding you back, or you really need to get it solved. We'll talk about it and see if it makes sense that for you and I to work together with one of my programs to resolve your issues. And even if we don't work together and decide that, it's just not the best fit, that's okay, because I can guarantee you that with this call, you will get at least one actionable tip that you can implement right away. So please go and do that. I'd love to talk to you, and I hope you have a terrific rest of your day.